So for this final part of this tutorial series, I'm going to quickly explain how our line detection system works. But before I continue any further, there are a couple of things I need to do. Firstly, I forgot to choose a material to give our planes a unique color in the previous video. So in our content folder, create another material instance, and I'm going to choose the color white. And make sure you don't forget to organize your materials. And select the newly created material instance. Now our filled up planes will appear white in color. I also forgot to change the sort order to descending in here. I will explain what this does later on. I also don't need this part of my nodes. I just made a small mistake while making the nodes. So yeah, it is not really necessary for this project. So you can just delete them. So now for the explanation, I'm going to start from BP terminal. So if our piece can't move down any further, we're going to spawn a bunch of cubes in the exact location of the cubes in our piece and destroy the piece after calling our Are There Planes event. We need to disable the collision of our piece to avoid our event from counting the cubes in both our playfield and our piece, which means our plane might not be filled up yet, but our event thinks it is and clears the cubes in that level. Now in our custom event, which we created inside our game mode, we start off by setting the isClearingLine boolean to true. This boolean basically helps prevent spawning our next piece twice. So if you noticed while playing the game, when we fill up a plane, there's a short delay before the cubes there get removed and drag the remaining cubes above to that plane down to fill up the gap. So I wanted my next piece to spawn after we are done dragging the cubes above, and for this I have the spawn new piece function in two parts of our nodes. One when the piece lands and there is no plane, and the other when there is a plane. This is also to avoid a certain bug where we end up dragging the next piece down by several blocks or heights. This ends up happening when we have a bunch of filled up planes at the same time. After this, we are clearing all the old entries in our location array. This is to prevent any bugs. Then we start our plane detection by first going through each of the cubes in our pieces and getting their height in the z-axis. We are doing this to get the locations to search for any planes, since it is more likely for a plane to appear in the locations of the cubes where our piece was just placed instead of searching for the entire playfield. The add unique node over here helps us avoid cases where we count the same height multiple times. After this, we sort the array. This is so that if we fill up multiple planes at the same time, the cubes above to the plane would move down properly. After this, we start going through each filled up plane and create a box trace. Although it's called a box trace, in here, since the start and end locations of the box is the same, the trace looks more like a plane. We are using it to search for the number of cubes colliding with the trace, and if there is 100 cubes in that height that we are tracing at, which we can count in our playfield, then we know it's a filled up plane. Once we know that the plane is filled up, we start setting a new material to each of the cubes in that plane and add them on to a new array to be destroyed later on. We also then add the current height where this filled up plane is at onto another array so that we know from which height onwards should we start dragging the piece down. This is most noticeable when we fill up a plane somewhere other than the bottom of the playfield. Then, after a delay of around 2 seconds, we clear all the cubes in that plane. Then we basically drag down the cubes that are one block above to where our filled up plane is, and we keep repeating this for each of the planes or the heights of the playfield, dragging all the cubes down till we reach the topmost part of the playfield. Hence this playfield height variable in this for loop over here. So I forgot to include a game over mechanic in our game, so I'm going to quickly do that now. So in our game mode, create a boolean called isGameOver. Then in the event tick, we're going to check if our boolean is true or false. If it is true, we're going to draw a debug string in the center of our playfield. Just copy the location of our target point in our playfield as the location for our debug string. Then in our BP Tetromino, go to the event begin play, set a direction to the z-axis by 10 so that we can run our doesPieceWidth function to see if we are colliding with something or not. And if we are colliding with something, set the isGameOver boolean in our game mode to true. Then in the event tick, we're going to first check if our game mode is over or not. And if it is, we will disable the input for this actor. Basically, our piece would no longer move. We won't be able to control it anymore. But if our isGameOver boolean is false, then our game will continue as normal. So yeah, that's our game over mechanic, and now we are done with this project or game. And yeah, that's really about it. Our game is now complete. Obviously, there are more features that could be added to make this game even better, but since there isn't really a lot of demand for this series, I'm just going to wrap things up with this video. But I might release an extra video, not a tutorial, where I will show you how this game would look like with more features and better graphics. Just an improved version of this game. And I don't know, maybe sell it on Unreal Marketplace or put it up on Patreon. By the way, I have uploaded this project in Patreon, so if you are able to and want to support me, you can do so over there and get this project. Shout out to my Patreon supporters, namely Brian and M. Shazad for their continued support, and all the other Patreon supporters who supported me. I really appreciate your support. Your support really helps me continue making these videos. So yeah, that's really about it for this tutorial series. Thanks for watching this tutorial so far. And yeah, see you in the next video, whatever it might be. Bye.